Are we live yet, Amy?
Yes.
Okay. I move to come out of executive session.
I'll second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
their action.
No
No.
action.
Hold on a minute, I can't see you guys. Sorry.
I move to adjourn solid waste.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes. All right.
All right, have a good day, everybody.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks,
Don.
Bill. Thanks, Don.
Bye, Don.
Okay. Janet. COVID-19 and travel memo.
I originally presented this memo last week, but since not all the commissioners were here last week. Kathleen, I wanted to bring it back just so for your review and your opinion about the memo. The memo has been revised with Governor DeWine's travel advisory from July 22nd. So you'll see in the memo where effective July 27th, there is new language regarding if an employee is traveling to a state that has 15% or higher positivity rate, that the employee must quarantine when they return back home. So the memo has been updated with that language, as well as the director of ODH, the order for facial coverings that has also been added to the memo. And then also underneath the travel advisory, you'll see that sick leave has been used as a option for the employees to use as part of the quarantine period. And this really comes from the CCAO bulletin. And I believe the numbers, it was July 30th. And I believe the number was 2020-16, where they discussed the Ohio Revised Code 124.38. It gives specific reasons to use sick leave. And one of those reasons include exposure to a contagious disease that can be communicated to other employees. So CCAO was suggesting that sick leave could possibly be used during the quarantine period if the employee chooses to take sick leave. At the same time, they use vacation leave, personal leave, comp time, telework, obviously if they can, or perhaps find the isolated work that Jean's been talking. If someone could possibly, isolate themselves and still perform work. But sick leave has been added as a possible use of leave as part of the memo based on CCAO's recommendation.
Mhm.
I think this looks good and I appreciate the updates. It's hard to keep track of all the different changes, but I think this strikes the balance of, doing what we need to do to keep our employees and the public that's interacting with us safe.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the revisions make sense.
Yep. Okay.
So do you want us to pass this today, Janet?
If you can, and I believe I have a journal entry, just if you
We
search,
do.
if there is
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and I did send it, by the way, I did send it to the directors last week after Thursday's meeting, just as a draft guidance. So also to give them an option to review the memo and offer any feedback. But at the same time, if they had a situation, a felony memo, they would have some kind of guidance to follow. So the directors did receive this memo last week, but I will formally and officially send this back to the directors today after you guys approve it.
Kathleen, you want to
Great.
read that journal entry because I've got a blank page where it says HR and there's nothing on there.
Yes, I can do that. The Board of Commissioners, or I move that the Board of Commissioners direct the board's department directors to follow the guidance provided in the memo format dated August 6th, 2020, as prepared by the Director of Human Resources, providing for return to work plans for employees traveling on vacation and addressing facial coverings per the order from the Director of the Ohio Department of Health.
Second,
Roll call, Amy?
Kathleen,
Yes.
Vicky,
yes.
Sabrina.
Yes.
Now, Vicky, do you have these other journal entries?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Move that the Board of Commissioners accepts the retirement of Thomas, oh boy, Sobzak, Maintenance 2 for Portage County Internal Services effective August 14, 2020.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agree to authorize the 2-week external posting of the full-time Maintenance 2, replacing Thomas Sobzak for Portage County Internal Services.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agree to authorize the temporary transfer of Ariel Randolph, eligibility specialist, to child support specialist for Portage County Job and Family Services, effective August 10, 2020.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agree to authorize the temporary transfer of Brooke McCarty, eligibility specialist, to child support specialist for Portage County Job and Family Services, effective August 10, 2020.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agree to authorize the temporary transfer of David Morgan, eligibility specialist, to child support specialist for Portage County Job and Family Services, effective August 10, 2020.
I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes. All right. I think we're all set there. Thanks so much, Janet.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Thank you guys too.
Dean,
Morning.
you're up.
This is an issue that all I'm looking for is agreement that Portage County Water Resource, predominantly myself, should reach out to the owners of the operating sand and gravel next to the Portage County Shaversville Water Treatment Plant. The memo that I had sent has some background information, but equally the last page I'm going to put up on the screen here if I can do it without blowing things apart. The work that was done by our GIS guys, they went out and the area highlighted in yellow is either improvement or new work that's going on county property. The line that runs east and west over to the Cauga River is the southern east-west line of our property. The sheriff's office training center is down here. There was an agreement between the commissioners and the adjoining operator to remove some trees in this curve. But the purpose of that was to provide some additional parking at the sheriff's facility, but equally the Hall Road that continues on up to the northeast. That Hall Road crossing county property, they're bringing a lot of vehicles across Coit Road right there. So it was a safety concern, and but the other things that are going on, we'd like to be able to go out and talk to them about it. If you remember the well work that was done, we have a well located here and another one right over here, well 3 and well 4, and the Hall Road is if you're standing at the well, when the big trucks come by, you can actually feel the ground move a little bit under your feet. So things we can do and not limit what he's doing, but at the same token, trying to understand what's going on out there. From what I've read, nothing in the agreed upon documents that have been approved in the last couple of years by the board provided for some of this work that's going on. If there's other documents that, and we looked once, and right now we're in the process of looking again to make sure that something back in the 70s and 80s did not contain language for him to come on the property and build these roads, what that's doing. So I'd like to be able to get a full handle on what he's doing and explain to him what his impacts are to the public water supply.
Okay.
So Jean, what are, in this yellow track that you have there,
Yes.
what are all these indicators? It's too small and I'm afraid to try to blow it up. I might disconnect.
That's right.
but-
When we went out with GIS, what they did was literally get elevations, and what's in the black dots are the elevation that we took, and what's in the white dots are the elevations of the latest topo when it was flown
Okay.
about 10 years ago now. So we're looking at some places he's filling, some places he's removing soil, all of which wasn't described in the documents that I have. So
Okay. And this
do
is
our record search, we'd go back and talk to him.
yeah.
As an example, this, if you can see my pointer, this area here,
Yeah.
the elevation at this point is 1120. The elevation of the soil that's piled up is 1162. That's 42 foot of soil piled up in the air there.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. Ron's a good guy, and he's also a Shalersville trustee. So I know they've always been good neighbors, and if there's issues, so hopefully it'll
Wanna work
go
through. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
absent any objection, that will be my next direction
Okay.
relative to this issue.
Okay.
Sounds good, Jean. Thank you.
Okay.
We're ready for Todd.
See, he's not on. I hear he's
Todd's here.
coming.
Todd?
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
Did you get the bill run?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, nothing out of the ordinary. In fact, a fairly light one this week. Nothing worth commenting unless you have questions.
I don't.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to approve the Thursday, August 6, 2020 bills, ACH payments as presented by the county auditor and reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to approve the Thursday, August 6, 2020 wire transfers for health benefits as presented by the county auditor and reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to approve the Thursday, August 6, 2020 journal vouchers as presented by the county auditor and reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to approve the Thursday, August 6, 2020 then and now certification as presented by the county auditor and reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Do you have any comments on 5, Todd?
Yeah, Ryan wants to get a couple of plans done by outside consultants regarding just emergency preparations. They would have qualified under CARES, but as we're going to talk later, it's possible we are going to spend all our CARES money. Ryan had this opportunity through through what EMPG is calling their S grant. And so he's submitting an application for that to get these done. There would be it's around $10,000 match on this grant. However, the match can also come from CARES, which right now I believe we would be planning to do if the grant would be awarded.
Move that the Board of Commissioners approves the application of the FY20 Emergency Management Performance Grant Supplemental COVID-19 on behalf of the Portage County Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners sign the partial release of mortgage releasing from the lien and operation of a certain mortgage from Portage Housing Limited Partnership to Portage County Commissioners for the property located at 1686 Athena Drive, Kent, Ohio 44240. Portage County will receive 1/24 of the principal accrued interest of $110,000 in Portage County Records number 2015-15521 as presented by the Neighborhood Development Services.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners approve the July 2020 adjustments to the Portage County Water, Portage County Sewer, and Streetsboro Sewer billing accounts as reported on the adjustment reports submitted and reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Yes.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
Thanks, Todd.
We have Joanne.
I'm here. I'm here.
Hey,
Joanne?
Good
Joanne.
morning. Hi. I only have one resolution today, which was an amending resolution for one that was adopted on the usage of the CARES money. And basically, all I'm trying to do is make the arrangement so that I can enter the purchase orders and then pay the bills out of the CARES fund. And when I talked with the auditor's office, when they originally set it up, they set it up under Department 011, which is Todd's, and he only has the authority to be able to pay bills out of there. So we're going to switch it to 010, which I have access to, and so does he. And that way it'll make a smoother transition. Once I know, I want to get the bills paid quickly because they're large, and I want to keep our vendors happy so that we can, make sure that we're not holding up getting them paid once we've received the items that we're looking for. And that's basically all this did, was amend that piece so that the auditors will switch that account over.
Okay.
Okay, move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to amend Resolution 20-0400 adopted on June 18, 2020, approving the fulfilling of the requirements of Ohio Senate Bill 310 for the passage of a resolution in order to receive and expand federal funds under Section 5001 of the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, Economic Security Act.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you
Joanne.
all.
Thanks,
Have a good
Joanne.
Thanks,
Right.
Joanne.
Bye.
Ah, there's Sue.
Thanks, Sue.
She's muted.
Hi
we go.
there. How is everybody?
Hi.
I'm well, thank you. You?
Good.
Good.
Should be short and sweet today. I just have one transfer. It is our regular monthly mandated share transfer from the general fund to public assistance for the month of August 2020.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to transfer $30,680.8 from Fund 0001 General Fund to Fund 1410 Public Assistance Fund.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Sue.
Thanks, Sue.
Have a great day.
You too.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Todd.
I'll see if I can reach out to Todd. We're roughly 10 minutes ahead of schedule, I believe.
I'm just
Todd-
kind of hanging out.
Todd Pete, sorry.
Uh-huh.
Be right
Yeah.
back.
Thank you, Jean.
Do you guys want to do our miscellaneous items?
Sure. Move that the Board of Commissioners approve the July 30, 2020 regular meeting minutes.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners receive the July 28, 2020 amended certificate of estimated resources for the year beginning January 1, 2020, as submitted by the Portage County Budget Commission.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners acknowledge receipt of the July 30, 2020 certificate of the county auditor that the total appropriations from each fund do not exceed the official estimate resources for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2020, as presented by the Portage County Auditor's Office.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes. All right. Todd, good to see ya. We're running a little early, so we're ready for the discussion of the multi-purpose building sale.
Yes, okay, so at the last meeting with the executive committee of the regional plan, we discussed the building, and the last time we tried to sell it for 300,000, then 250, then 200. I think we even tried at 150, and now we're dropping our price again to $100,000. And so the commissioners have to okay that bid price to send it out, but it does have an implication to the commissioners, because if we only got a bid of $100,000, we still owe $134,000. And that's in my memo, $134,310.94. So if we got a minimum bid, the commissioners would still be on the hook for $34,000. So I needed to bring that to your attention. I didn't want you guys to did not know that by authorizing the sale of the building. And then we also discussed how are we going. So you guys have paid 3 years now, and then you throw 34,000 more on top of those 3 years. I think we're going to owe you a little under $130,000. And so then we need to figure out. We talked about a reimbursement process. Part of that would come from a reduction of doing a countywide comp plan, and then the other may be a annual payment to cover the difference. I do know the executive committee did discuss splitting the difference, but that's something we have to discuss. Maybe not at this moment, but in the near future, of what we owe, and basically the difference of what's been paid by the commissioners and what is owed. So by regional planning. So I think the primary thing is to understand that there's a cost, and then also to allow us to go ahead and put the bid package out again for this process as required by the Ohio Revised Code.
You know, Todd, what do you think the problem is with this building? It's almost like we want to give it away. And I understand that we're still paying utilities and all this stuff while we've still got it, but it seems like a good location. What am I missing?
There's nothing wrong with the building at all in interior. There's nothing, everything is in good working order. I think part of the reason why we wanted to sell it to begin with, as the board wanted to sell it, was that in the next 10 years, we're looking at about, between $60,000 and $80,000 worth of improvements.
Right.
Parking lot needs to be repaved, and then there's 5 HVACs in the building that are all over 20 years old now. And so we figured in the next 10 years, they're going to start needing to be replaced. So when our board, several years ago, 3 years ago, heard that, they were like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money, So, and that's when the discussion talked about maybe it'd make more sense to move us here. And actually with, the hindsight being 2020, it was a godsend to be here, because with this pandemic, not being able to go in and out of buildings and things like that, it would have really slowed things down from that standpoint. But we're here now. And so, as far as back to your question, the last time we advertised this, we tried to advertise. It's like a brownfield now. The building has become a brownfield where there's nothing necessarily wrong with it, but people perceive there's something wrong with it.
Right.
And so what we did the last time to try to break that perception is we marketed it differently, where we basically said, hey, the building is in great working order. We didn't leave because there's something wrong with the building. We left because it made more sense to be in this building. And at the same time, we also said the reason why we're selling at a lower rate than it was appraised at was because we want to instill or fire up economic development in Ravenna. I mean, so we try to put a positive spin on that, and really the building is in good shape. We have had people ask about renting the building. I haven't had anybody ask recently because of the potential sale, but before we went to the sale process, I still had renters, and they were afraid of the sale and the new owner and what that might mean to them. There was a lot of uncertainty there for them, and so they, those all died. So there was interest. And now we have this recession that we're in now. So that makes things even more difficult. It's just not a good time from that standpoint.
Todd, I think it's also the location. It's not a good location, even though it's barely off Main Street. We've had issues there with vandalism and stuff. There's an apartment complex that tends to, I think, bring a lot of that into that area. And now that it's set empty for how many years now, Todd? Is it 2?
Well, we moved here in September.
Moved here
September of 18. It's almost been 2 years. Now the building hasn't been entirely empty. USDA just moved out because of their lease agreement. And then
but she was working from home. No one was actually at because that's why her car got vandalized.
Yeah, her car got
Yeah, and I think the other concern we have as the executive board is that with everything going on with the the COVID, people are finding that they're more productive teleworking or working from home. And we're concerned about the impact that, there's a lot of building space already available. And this is ideal for office space. And that could really have an impact going forward as to how many brick and mortar buildings we need for office space if people can work from home.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Todd Bragg is on here. Todd, do you want to add anything? Because you're familiar with everything that's going on and have met with the board.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's somewhat location on that property. Regarding the payoff, the county will actually pay off the loan to USDA this fall. The issue is solely between our and the commissioners, which we have the ability then to structure any type of repayment however the commissioners would like. And I believe that's where, Todd's talking about possibly extending out those payments so that they aren't hit as hard income-wise and continue providing the services to the community that they've been providing while still meeting their obligations to the board. So, but we don't need to decide that today. Again, he was just giving you a heads up. Should it sell short, that may be a possibility.
Right. Now, Todd, You say that it's gonna be paid off. We have to pay it off this year, whether it sells or not. Is that my understanding?
I'll double check, but I'm almost positive our last payment to USDA is this fall. The county pays the original mortgage and then RPC pays us back. And there was a period there Todd alluded to where we deferred their payments. Of course, we still had to make ours. And so that's why what RPC owes the county is a little bit different than what the county owes the USDA. The good thing being that gives us flexibility in how we structure any future payments from RPC because we don't have to worry about a massive payoff to USDA. We're just going to make the regular loan payment that we were going to make and we'll be done.
Okay. So Todd, you're looking for direction today to go ahead and advertise it for the 100,000 to put it back out to bid?
Yeah, that was the recommendation of my board was to, to put it out for $100,000, but we couldn't do that without your approval. Number one, it's in your name. So, but I also wanted to make sure that, we understand, like Todd Bragg said, if there is a short sale on this thing, that the commissioners may have to, we'll have to pay the difference. And then we'll have to come back and figure out a way of paying the commissioners back.
Yeah. But I think the last time we put it out for auction for bid, I think it was down to 125 and we still did not. Was it 150?
It was either 200. I think it was either 250 or 150. It was definitely,
okay. I couldn't remember. We've talked about numerous things on it, but
this is the first time we talked about selling it short of what it's owed. Or it was going to cover what was owed, and now it looks like it's not going to cover it if they come with the bid.
Well, we only have one tenant in there, and that's Terry Montz, who uses it basically for storage.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. He covers his utilities, so that's a relief for us currently. And then he doesn't pay a lot. He pays very minimal, but something's better than nothing at this point. And so we just use that to cover the utilities on the other vacant units. So.
And Todd, we never heard anything back from the city, did we? I know Dennis West had talked to us about possibly like an incubator place for someone like starting up a business. The city might possibly have had an interest.
Yeah. Well, I met with the mayor and Dennis yesterday about incubators. It wasn't just about incubators and stuff like that, but we did talk about our space again yesterday. They're looking at Riddle 9. I don't know which that is, but they're talking about Riddle 9 being their incubator space. I talked to UH about space, and then maybe doing an incubator with Neomed, and actually met with the ED people out of Chicago, and they said we needed to do a what's the word I'm looking for? Basically evaluate, the incubator space and to a performance due diligence or performance of what an incubator space would look like. And they told me that study typically runs about $25,000 to $50,000, which is not something I have laying around to do. As far as the detail they would want for a study like that. So we've kind of put that on hold too. And then after we started talking about it, then this whole pandemic happened, and said, they're not moving. They're not going to do a space in our building or any other building in downtown Ravenna until this whole pandemic clears and they get, they're in better financial state themselves. So,
okay.
So there was other options we were looking at from that standpoint, but right now we're kind of, we don't have anything good going forward.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so what do you need us to do today then?
Well, I think today all we're doing is asking you to go ahead and put it out for bid. And then the commissioners recognize be a shortfall and then what the amount was, because I didn't want to leave the commissioners in the dark on that. And then whatever the shortfall is on the total amount that we owe the commissioners, then we'll work on a repayment process at that point.
Okay.
I don't think there's many options here. I mean,
there's not, Vicki.
Right.
And the longer that thing sits empty, the worse off it is.
Go forward, Todd.
Well, thank you. but I need your
Yeah.
help.
Kathleen,
I
do
mean,
you?
it's the recommendation of the executive board. I think move forward, we're kind of between a rock and a hard place here, but
Yeah,
I think this recommendation makes sense, Todd. So I think, thanks for bringing this all before us today, and I think you can keep moving.
okay.
Yeah. All
And
right.
you'll get a hold of Joanne then?
I will let her know if that's what you guys vote to do, then I'll let her know that we're going to start it and place that minimum bid at 100,000.
Okay.
Thanks, Todd. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Mhm.
Thanks, guys.
All right, bye-bye.
All right. Next on our agenda, we have the King Kennedy Center Gym project. My thought on this was to ask Eugene if you would reach out to the King Kennedy Center and also continue the conversation. I know we asked you previously to check in with NDS about funding that may still be available for some community projects with revolving loan funds and the different funds that we have available there. So if you could reach out to the King Kennedy folks and also continue that conversation with NDS and check back with us, we'll see what our options are to be able to help meet the gap that they have in funding to finish this project. Does
Yeah,
that
okay.
sound okay with the
Absolutely.
board?
Is,
Now,
is,
if I
is
recall
anyone
correctly,
coming? Is anyone coming to this or?
Yes.
no?
No, not that I was told about.
They were invited to an appointment. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
did
By
they?
who, Amy?
By Amy.
Yeah, by
yeah.
me.
Yeah, I thought Frank was coming.
Yeah, Frank and Dr. Nelson. So did they answer or not?
Yes. Yeah, they
Oh,
accepted.
they're coming then. Okay. I heard the gap was like 50,000. Is that what your understanding is, Kathleen?
I
you know
don't
what the
have any
gap
of this information, so I feel a little bit caught off guard here. Can we have this? I don't have an invitation to a meeting, Amy, that invited outside people, and I am the one working with you guys to make sure that our agenda is in order. So what appointment are we talking about?
Frank and Dr. Nelson had requested to come before the board and I emailed Amy and told her that, and I told them it's going to be a Zoom meeting, so you'll have to be with a computer.
Right, but
I
then
just-
I wasn't
I
wasn't told about that.
Oh,
Well,
wow. What time are they supposed to be on? At 10:05?
Sorry for the miscommunication.
Could we delay this discussion then until next week?
Are they on? No?
What do you want to do? What do you want to do, Vicky? I'm sorry. I just didn't know about it.
yeah, I'm sorry about that too. Well, I hate to
Cancel them.
yeah, tell them that they can't come if they're coming. I don't know.
I thought they were just going to come and present what
Right,
they
right.
need. So I think we'd be okay just to hear them out. And then Kathleen, you could say you're tasking Jean to follow up into it.
Frank had given us some background. Did you get that, Kathleen?
I did get that email. I just didn't know anything about an appointment and folks coming in to our meeting. So I mean, Amy, that's something that I definitely need to be made aware of going into the future. I know you're still doing some appointments, and that's not how my calendar functions, but then I don't know about
Okay.
what we're doing. So I don't know if they've dialed in. I'm frozen. So
Okay.
You know, I see Ryan Shackelford. Is he?
Yeah.
Ryan here? Oh, he's muted.
Ryan's here for the next piece.
Oh, okay, okay.
Gotcha.
can you check to see if anybody has tried to be a panelist?
I have one with their hand up, and I'm guessing it's Dr. Hayes Nelson.
Okay.
Please, Nelson. Okay.
Okay.
I'll promote her.
Okay.
Thanks,
That's
Jean.
kinda
Sorry about my
Unusually to
confusion.
promote somebody with a doctorate in front of their name, but
Yeah.
Hard to
Girl.
do.
Good morning, Dr. Nelson. Oh, she's gone now.
Oh, there she is. Oh, she's muted.
ma'am, in the lower left, you have a little microphone. You have to- There you go.
Easy.
Yes, good morning,
Hi,
everyone.
Geraldine.
Morning.
Good morning.
And I know Frank was going to join with us
Okay.
as well. There's just been a lot going on out in, of course, in the county, but in particular within the community. I'm sure you all have heard about the Ariel Sanders' wife, Cindy Sanders.
No.
No.
And
What
so,
happened?
well, Frank was called. Ariel, you know, we've been talking on this educational issue, working with our superintendent out in Savannah.
Mm-hmm.
Ariel asked Frank to come over, and Frank did get to the home. And by the time Frank had gotten there, Cindy was standing with a gun in her hand, and she was threatening to kill herself. And so I've been on the phone with Frank. So she shot herself
Oh.
right in front of Frank Hairston. So and so part of why we were coming to the commissioner is I've gone out to King Kennedy. I was out at Sharon's place at McHale, and I talked to the superintendent. The African American, the whole community is just very stressed, and we need help. And I went to the meeting on the gym, and so and sorry, Kathleen, I had tried to reach out to you, and I know you were on vacation, and
That's okay.
and so this just kind of tipped it over. We also had one of the Boykins, Bryce Boykins, was killed yesterday on 261. He was hit. And I don't have all the details, but it's just been a lot in the communities. I've been working with Doria Daniels on because he was a kid from the south end of Kent. But the community is just very heavy to a mother just breaking down, saying, I'm in essential care, I work at the nursing home. I can't be off 10 days when the superintendent said that they would, those kids would be quarantined. Since she said, can't afford to pay someone to watch my kids, I don't know how this is going to happen. So I've been having discussions. We've had, there's been 2 community meetings with family members, just parents, and just to talk about COVID-19. So Cindy was a school teacher. We all know that. I don't know what happened. I don't know. Like I said, gosh, my hair's getting in my way. We had just talked, and she's very excited, and just some things that we were going to be doing with the NAACP. So my big thing is to try to, just get the gym built. And so that's when I started to reach out. I had been in touch with Kathleen, said I wanted to talk about when the whole Black Lives Matter, when all this got started. So so this is where we're at. There's just been so many funerals. They're just back to back now. And I know the last one in South End of Kent was Bonnie. And even at the repast, we had had the family get together, afterwards. And we were at Cherry over there at the park, and her son, I think he's 30 something years, playing basketball and dropped dead on the court. So that's south end of Kent. Then we got Cindy out in out Ravenna. It's just and then I'm constantly getting there's just been complaints coming in of just inappropriate behavior in the workplace. So what this all plays out to be, I contacted the university saying we need to get some services out in our community. We need to talk about that. But in the meantime, I went to Marcus and we've got to get the gym building. They're back and forth about, here are these people in the community saying we're going to raise money and we're going to get the gym, and Frank's put it around, and it's just been very tough. And I was hoping, now I'm getting a little emotional. From the time
Geraldine.
at Kent State, we've been trying to do for that community, and I just think that.
Geraldine, there's so many numbers that are going around, and I just got information from Mark this morning because I told him it wasn't adding up.
Right.
And he said you understand the finance now, which that's the first time. I'm glad he said that, because then meeting with you this morning, he said because of this 2-year delay and bad soil and on and on and on, that the project now is $150,000 over budget without the sprinklers. Is that what you understand?
Right. That's what he was saying to me. And just like I said with the chief of the fire and from the building, I just said, Portage County can do this. I've watched this community, here you got Elder Sanders, people say, well, we can raise the money. They can't raise that money. They can't raise it. Where are they going to get it? But they don't have it. How many chicken dinners can you do? So the issue is, I know it was $100,000 for the sprinkler. It was $50,000 to connect the building. The discussion was at the meeting was to build the gym without connecting it to the old facility. Now, what does that mean? What that means is the restroom is in the old facility that's grandfathered in, that does not need to be sprinkled.
Right.
So with all the discussion, if we didn't sprinkle the building, of course, the building codes, the numbers that they'd be able to have in the facility would be 118, something along that line. With the sprinkling system, it can go up to 300, 350 with tables and chairs, which would provide a place, because I am willing, I wrote grants for the university. We need to write grants. I said, the importance of having square footage, but how am I going to get a grant through there if the bathrooms aren't? You got to leave one building to go to the other to go to the restrooms, I guess.
Let me ask you, Geraldine, how important is it to the community that these buildings be joined, connected? That's an important point, isn't it?
Yes, I think I think is Frank with us?
Not yet. I've been watching for him.
Okay. But it's my understanding the restrooms are in the old building.
Right.
And so if the restrooms are in the old building, the kids would have to go outside anytime they have to go to the restroom.
I think my problem with this is I started talking to people about this three and a half weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't given all the information. So I was very excited because I thought, we should be able to supplement this, hopefully find some money somewhere and get this done. And then like last week, I got hit with, well, you know what? We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars now, and that was not conveyed initially.
And you know what, Vicki? I talked to Maya Sanders on Monday, and she was under the impression they were just short the money for the sprinkler system. So that's not what I'm hearing here.
No.
So I think with Maya was at the meeting where there was a discussion, and the only discussion was to sprinkle or not to sprinkle.
Okay.
And so the focus was on this $100,000. It's about 50 to sprinkle the gym and about 50 to sprinkle the other. But
And at that point, were the buildings going to be connected?
They that there was no discussion. That's where Mark, there wasn't a lot of discussion about the connecting of the buildings. Because
That was my
initially,
understanding.
yeah.
That was what I was told.
yeah, but that is, it's about $50,000 to build the connection. So what, in talking with Mark, I did go stay and said, look, we will try to find the money. I said, I need NAACP, we need to get scholarships, but we're willing to help in this. So I have because as a student at Kent State, we've always, I was happy we got King Kennedy built, but there was a gym that was in the picture. So Kelvin Berry has been working, I was on the board for King Kennedy and stepped away from the board and still I'm still working with King. I've never left King Kennedy. So my concern is that as we go and we look at it, the cost, my understanding is about 150 with the soil. There's the issue with the mitigation of the soil in order for it to withstand the weight. That took the project over by about 160. The second thing is the presentation that Mark had that Maya is referring to was just about the sprinkler system.
Oh.
That time, the community was there, but people were willing. Oh, Frank is calling me. Let me see what he's saying. I hope nothing else has happened on the community. Frank is, let me see. I just want to see if Frank, I know he's trying to get up. Hey, Frank, are you? Yes.
I've been trying to get into this thing. Do you know what the meeting passcode is? We have to do that?
No, I just clicked on the Zoom.
Can send him.
You clicked on it? So why don't you go
The
back and
passcode, I'm sorry, the passcode is 435668.
tell me that again? That
435668.
435668.
435668. Okay,
Yes.
let me get back into it.
Okay. All right. Bye.
What's the last 4 digits of his phone number? So I'll watch for him to come in.
Okay, let me do that. Um, 3980.
Thank you.
So I think that's what everyone was hearing. That was the big discussion, was to sprinkle or not to sprinkle the gym. That's what that meeting was. And that's probably all that Maya heard. Now, I said to Mark, I think he needs to put something together. What is the bottom line? Because if he just did one, it's 50. If he did both, it's $100,000. That's where the $100,000 came into play. The connectors, $50,000. Then his over budget was 160. Now, and I said to him, he did get 175 was given to the, there was as a bequest was given
Right,
to King
right.
Kennedy. So I said he's going to leverage a large percent of that, but he said, but kids social services, when they saw that I'm getting the money called, of course the shelter they called, and this different agency called and said, oh, we got these needs. So he said, so I've got to be able to be, diplomatic, but he is pledging that a portion of that money that he got from this bequest would go to offset the debt. I said, if you got no money, what would be your next steps? And he said, I had no other step because I got to get the bill paid, is to mortgage that land and get a loan to pay that bill. But I just said, you got to get the gym out. That's very important for the community. The community was willing to go, people were willing to go, foresee the cost of that sprinkler system. And that's when I intervened and said, no, I'll talk to the county commissioners. I'll talk to some elected, we'll talk to some people, and let's see, in Portage County, we should be able to do this.
That's not a choice about the sprinkler system, correct?
And I said, yes, because I said to the community, if something was to happen, you guys would never forgive yourselves.
Mm-mm.
And they had I think they had another set of plans where they were going to put extra pull stations and some additional fire doors. And I just said, that's just not, why should we do substandard? We need to go all the way, and we need to have this building sprinkled.
Okay.
So that's where that $100,000 was floating out there. I said, Mark, at that time, while you're sharing that $100,000, I know it was just focused on those, particularly on the gym. I think things are ready to go. I asked him, what is your anticipated date of completion? He said if he's able to continue on, it'll be about 3 to 4 months, maybe early 2021. But that has been the big delay, to sprinkle or not to sprinkle. And of course, as I said, I don't know why this, it was built. I guess the builder did say that they just did some out in Trumbull County, I believe. They had just built the same exact gym. It did not have to be sprinkled. But in Portage County, and so there was a thing that there was some discussion we could have gone through an appeal process. But I said, what are we appealing?
Yeah.
They're going to say, don't sprinkle the building. So that's where we tabled it. And I said, look, we should, let's end the discussion. We need to get the building sprinkled. Now,
I think the misunderstanding too, though, you're talking 50,000 to connect the buildings. It was my understanding that was from the get-go what was going to be done. So why would it cost an extra 50,000 if that was in the plans initially? That was my confusion.
I don't think the sprinklers were in the plans.
Not the sprinklers, the connection of the building.
Oh.
I think they were connected, but then when they found out that they would have to sprinkle, that's what was not in the plan. They were not planning to sprinkle.
Right, so that's 100,000 that wasn't in there, but that 50 should have been in there all along. You're saying it's another 50 to connect the buildings, but that was in there from the get-go, was my understanding.
Right, and now I don't know if it was connected early on. I haven't seen those plans, but it sounds like he was planning to do those 2 separate buildings.
Frank, what's your understanding about this connection?
Well, first of all, good morning, commissioners, and thank you.
Good morning.
On this project, I think this is my personal opinion. I think there needs to be a conversation with Mr. Rizzone and whoever else, and what is the plan? Because the financial plan of it. I have the drawings. I've gone out and I've worked to get some monies donated. I got a couple churches that we've donated some monies already towards this project. And with the coronavirus, things kind of like stopped. But I want to just take you back a little bit, because when this project started, and me being a child of the 70s, when I went to Kid State University, I was one of the first people to block off a check mark for monies to go to the King Kennedy project. And so to take you up to when the project got built, the gym did not get built for whatever reason. I don't know, and I don't know if anybody else knows. But the question became, all of a sudden, almost 50 years later, we were blessed to be able to find Mark and John Garrity from the Mental Health Recovery Board were able to find some funds. So the funds are either $50,000 to $600,000. So the drawings were done. The question became how much all of a sudden the sprinkler system came into the project. And then I just heard something the other day about the property itself. They had to dig up dirt, and it costs more money. Somebody needs to put something on paper so you can see it, we can see it, and go from there. This project is so much needed, and it's just not for the Black community. I mean, you got a poor neighborhood that has a trailer park, Pine Gate. You've got PMHA on Cleveland Road. You've got another project. So there's a lot of children, a lot of people will be able to use this building. It is so important for the community. But the question becomes, this is my personal opinion, the goalpost keeps moving. We need the goalpost to stay still so we all know exactly what we need to do. I don't want to see this money go back to the state. I don't want to Metro, as hard as as hard as the Mental Health Recovery Board, the things that they have done, the money they're putting towards it. They've also put a youth position, a mental health youth position. We're looking at some other programs. That gym is just part of it. The building itself, we're looking at bringing access point in there 1 or 2 days a week with a doctor and a dentist for the community. We're looking at other programs. There's no drug and alcohol programs. So it's just not the gym itself, it's the building and what it all brings to the community. So it's going to be a catalyst for not just the McElrath community, but the communities all around it. And there's going to be other activities besides the gym. The gym just helps bring so much to the kids, but as I tell people, this is real simple. It's not only kids. You got senior citizens. We could have programs for them, exercise programs, all kinds of things going on that we never had, and so also an opportunity for the community, for King Kennedy Center itself to be able to raise funds for weddings or. People need a place to come and they'll pay some money to have those activities. So I'm trying to look at how we could get monies to come in to help sustain it. So, but we're just at this point. I just want to see what the real the numbers are, so we can do what we need to do. So.
Let me jump in here and say, Frank, thank you for joining us and for sending us background information and for all you've done on this important project. And the same to you, Geraldine. We really appreciate the sentiment here and the work that's being done to try to make this happen. And I know you've been in touch with all three of us. What I'd like to do before you two got here, I was suggesting that it seems like we need, like you said, Frank, on paper, what the needs are. And what I'd like to do, and we talked about it before you were here, is have Jean Roberts, our county administrator, come out, meet with the folks at King Kennedy, and also look at our different funding options, all of the, fact finding, make sure we have all of the information, and then we can move quickly, but bring that information back to the board. We, of course, will share that with you. This is a transparent and open process, but I think that is the best next step for us to move forward, if that makes sense to you two and to my fellow commissioner colleagues.
Well, me personally, Commissioner, this is Frank. Me personally, I agree 110%. I think sending Jean out to meet with the King Kennedy board is very important. I think also you having something in hand that shows you the financial plan for this project. I think that's very important.
And from my perspective, because I'm working from the academic portion of it, educational programs, that's a place where Kent State can, there's a way, if we have all those factors in place, that we can look at federal funding. We can't look at federal funding if we don't have those factors. The seniors do use that building, and even though it's grandfathered, not as it is without the sprinkling system, that is my concern that I've had with Mark. That let's just do it, right. If one has to be sprinkled just because it's grandfathered in, but if we're going to have students there, and I've already been talking about bringing in some educational programs, we have to look at how we best support the community. And as Frank said, this could be a state of the art. This is a beacon of light, something that those community members can be very, very proud of. But I can see many people accessing Kent State. Their commitment is there. I think it's very easy. There's some grants that I've already started to look at it, but as I told Mark, the more square footage we can put in those federal grants, increase the likelihood that we would be able to obtain those grants. So I think that we do need to have something to say, this is the final numbers, what they look like.
Hey,
Well, we will
Frank.
follow up quickly on this to be able to move forward. And this discussion is helpful still today, but let's keep the ball moving. We will follow up. Jean will be in touch, and let's stay close and stay in close communication about this going forward.
I have a question, and either Geraldine or Frank, can answer. How much funds have been raised so far for the project?
Okay, so you have your state funds, you have funds that were given from the Portage County Mental Health Recovery Board. You've had some individual funds. Barb and myself have donated to it. Other people, small amounts. The biggest one the biggest one that we got is from the First Congregational Church. They donated $10,000.
Oh, wow.
The other one was Judge Berger on his own donated $2,000 to the project. So I've been out there, talking with people, and as I said, things kind of slowed down, and hopefully we can get back. I've talked to Rick Coe at Portage Community Bank. I had a conversation with Pastor Miller out at the Portage church, and he got sick there for a while, so I don't know exactly, but he was very committed of the church doing some fund, giving us some money too for the project. So we're out there. Brian Boykin's out there talking with people too. So on that part of it. But I really believe that we're at a point right now that there just needs to, commissioners, we not only you, we need to stop moving the goalposts. Tell us what exactly we need and what these funds will go for. If I was in your seat, that's what I would want to know.
Right.
I was given the figure of 650 had been raised.
I think that that's what I'm saying. There was a 500,000. I know they have that. I didn't know the number for mental health, but I had, as a result of the meeting, there was a letter that I was putting together entitled My Beloved Community, which was asking, which would have been a fundraiser for the gym. Well, I didn't put the letter in, pulled it because that day, which would have been the next week that I would have put my appeal in, Mark had gotten $175,000 from a bequest.
Oh, wow.
So, but I don't know. He did say a portion of that money. So I think getting what that final line is, but even say there's a contingency that, we would have some support from the county commission. And I would put in what the contingencies are instead of saying we want this, but this is not saying that we're not going to help you. We want to help, but in order to move forward, this is our contingency plan.
Mm-hmm.
And that way it's not out there. We're not saying we're not trying to help. We're all working on this together.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. We will be in touch, and we appreciate it. Stay safe out there.
You too. God bless. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, Jean, we are at the county administrator portion of the agenda.
Okay,
Take it away.
the update on the CARES funding is what I'd like to add to the agenda today. We talked about it briefly. The memo that was put together and sent out by email to the commissioners kind of gives an overview of where we're at. And we also provided you with where we're at approximately. And I got to say this, some of these are still budget numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But for example, we held back in Todd's estimate, 100,000 for the health department. We just received late last night, the health department request is 161,000. So we just increased that 61,000. as people start to drill in and look at what the money can be used for based on the matrix together, and we put right at the top, be creative. That's where we're at. And they are being creative, and we've spent money to date, and we continue to spend money. And what we'd like is really some guidance from the board based on where we're at total dollar amount, and the fact that we had also discussed early on excess money could be spent for business grants, could be spent for social grants. And right now we're not seeing a large pot of money, if any, that's going to be available. Having said that, I know that the Senate Bill 1624, known as the HEALS Act, is coming before us, and they're talking about more funds coming down to local government or to other mechanisms and organizations. But the key element that we know will probably survive whatever occurs is they're going to probably push the December 30th date on the CARES Act out to March 30th of 2021. And if that does survive, and I believe it will, that gives an extra 3 months. More funding is always going to be better. But what we were looking at is an October influx of cash from turnback money. That may not occur like we thought it was. So we're going to try and program based on our 180, but have a considerable resource at our disposal to spend additional money as it becomes available. Right now, we're probably at a point where we need direction, I guess, more than anything else. We'd like to be able to look at what's been proposed to the working group and start to prioritize those. The working group, we've got a bunch of ideas floating around, but we're looking for primarily is the safety needs of the future. Should that be number one, to keep ourselves and to keep our employees and the community that visits our building safe? I think we can all agree that that probably should be number one. Number two is recouping the costs that we've already paid for that. That being said, that would be PPE, laptops, all those things that created social distancing. We don't have a hard number on those two combined, but my knee jerk is we're going to be 300,000-400,000 without any hesitation. We looked at, as an example, the UV units that are large and computerized and are at intensity such that a human being can't be in the room. So you program it, you exit the room. If somebody opens the door, it shuts itself off automatically. But those are the kinds of things that are $70,000, $80,000 per unit. We're looking at those for large areas because it makes sense. In a smaller unit in the $40,000 range, that if one of our employees does come down with COVID, you put the unit in, you turn it on, you shut the door. And the nice thing about UV is it bounces everywhere. And so under the desk, on the ceiling, in the light fixtures, it gets everything clean, places we couldn't even reach. Having said that, then we drop down to the next level, which is looking at recouping labor costs where it's appropriate. And that's where a lot of our money is moving up. And I believe Todd and Ryan are equally here, and I have not maybe. Yep. Okay. We've got all the team here. Joanne's also joined back in. The intent being that we want to get the money back in the county coffers where it's legitimately possible, and always have more in a reserve so that if money comes available, we can use it, or if something slips during an audit, we can come back and hopefully plug another issue in. I think Todd had programmed 761,000, if I remember right, Todd, in what has been spent in CARES, or not necessarily CARES, but it's what's been spent in labor costs to date. And then most likely the remaining is looking forward on the labor cost. If we're in agreement that we're not looking to spend money on social grants, business grants, or hazardous duty pay, those are things that we think are at the very bottom, which may be eligible, but we're looking at trying to reach as many people as possible. So I would ask Todd or Joanne or Ryan to jump in if they have anything they want to add.
No, I think you hit the hot spots.
Yep, absolutely.
Our next visit back with you would be with some hard numbers in addition to what you see before us, which is more budgetary, but what we believe is going to be actual costs in at least the first two groups, and then a priority on the balance. With the intent, as you had put the work group together, the intent was our charge, use all the money to the best use possible. And I think we're doing that. So.
This is so helpful, and the fact that you guys were able to split up and meet with every department and walk them through the eligible expenses and compile this for us is a relief. I mean, I think that the initial thought was, how will we be able to spend this? I'm not sure. The quick take was, oh, I don't have any expenses necessarily, et cetera. But clearly, you were able to flesh that out. And I think that you're on target with the priorities that you're kind of loosely laying out as far as, it would be wonderful to be able to do some of those community grant programs if the funds were available, and maybe they will be. Maybe, this is a discussion probably happening right now at the congressional level, but I think covering our expenses to get the county through the pandemic is the right priority.
Mm-hmm.
I have just a couple of questions, which I'm not sure if you can answer right now or if that's sort of in the next stage. But I know that there are CARES funds coming separately in some places. And is that factored in here? And the two examples I would have is, I know the Board of Elections has the two grants that we approved resolutions for them to be able to spend down. Does the Department of Health have any separate type of funding? Like, is the 160 from our allocation? And then the other one would be Job and Family Services. Is the 365 again from our 1.8, or is it, are there going to be separate streams that we'd be able to access?
And that's still in flux.
These requests are on top of what they got. So the assumption is they will be able to spend all the money they received, and they can use this in addition.
Probably a great example is the health department. They actually received two additional funding sources. Both of them, one of them was very specific to be used for contact tracing. And then the second one came in and they're also using that for contact tracing. It was a little less restrictive, but still it had to be not much different than us, pointed directly at CARES response and mitigation. So they're spending all their incoming grant money in the same mechanism we're trying to spend ours. But what they're looking at is to give us what they can't spend with their restrictive uses of their funding. Portage County Board of Elections is in the same situation. Job and Family Service has a small stipend they've been given, but in general, they're not being provided a lot. One of the questions that was asked by the groups when we split into twos was to each individual department official, elected official, and board, do you have any funding sources? The auditor's office was gracious enough to share the 90 some subsets that the state auditor is looking at for CARES funding. So we're kind of backtracking on some of those, but it is a dynamic situation. Is just our ability to spend money went from overtime only to substantially different. Theirs is changing also. It is, when we come down to the end, I can tell you exactly what it'll be, but until we get to the end, we're not going to know. It's always changing.
So Jean, all these requests, these are verified expenses that can be used with the COVID or the CARES Act funding. Is that correct?
We're in the process of doing that. When you see numbers like COVID-related payroll codes, Todd put that in at 760. I'm looking at the exact number. That is
Yeah.
an exact number. The rest of them, in some cases,
Okay.
are budget. And where you see $1,000 with 3 zeros in it, it's still a budget number. The example
Okay.
being the health department was at 100,000 and now they're at $161,060.
Yeah.
And we're
That's what I
telling them
was-
you have to have the supporting documentation.
Okay, because that's what I was wondering, if these have all been verified expenses that can be reimbursed through the CARES Act. And, you know I spoke to the airport this week and they actually also received CARES funds during this. So, okay. Well, this is very
Ryan,
helpful.
Can I ask on your 220, can you just give us a sense of what that is? Is that PPE purchasing or what's,
That covered mine and Brett's salary, the majority of it, from March 1st to December 30th, which is right around 21 pay periods. So, and we excluded Patty from that because we have her working a lot of other projects, including EMPG, normal administrative duties. So just me and Brett is a majority of that, and I believe that also includes the PPE as well.
Okay.
So primarily those two things.
and that would
Jean-
not be duplicative in the payroll number, would it? It's separate?
It would be separate, yes.
Yeah, those are different figures.
Okay.
What does anyone know what the clerk's request for the 255 covers? I mean, I know they've had to do a lot of modifications at the courthouse for them. Is that salary too, Jean? Do you know?
Look real quick.
Okay.
No, it wasn't.
A lot of
salary.
that included building modification.
Yeah.
There's also, the need for laptops and whatnot. Some of those, and this is why we needed your guidance just as to what else you want included, but, we've got 3 million on the list. Obviously, not everybody is going to get theirs funded. The building modifications are maybe something that is a little more concerning regarding eligibility, and so if we don't need to use it, perhaps we shouldn't. That way we don't risk a rejection in the audit, come next year. But it was brought up to her as something that was done, and so it is on the list right now. Obviously, we're only going to fund 1.8 that's on this list.
Right. Okay, thanks.
And we also had, just to add to it, we had a lot of redundant requests and a lot of great ideas coming out in PPE as well as disinfectant. So instead of every individual department requesting PPE specific to them, we consolidated that here at the EMA office. So we did the bulk purchasing of exactly what we distributed over the last 5 months. So we expect to mimic those numbers, hopefully, and well, unhopefully too, but as well as bulk disinfecting. So for example, we threw out the idea of spray guns versus the 32-ounce spray bottles that we're doing now. And we purchased, I think we're looking at purchasing 25 spray guns that we'll distribute across the county. So trying to consolidate a lot of those efforts down and use these funds as best as possible.
So what's our next step here, Jean, as far as, making specific approvals? I think the guidance that you request in the memo, I think the way that you've structured the priorities are right. I think let's not eliminate that option and put it on the back burner for the grants and potential hazard duty pay.
Well,
beyond that, what else do you need from us?
I'm going to go back and point at the top of the CARES group. We also provided you the dollar amount for the public assistance grant through EMA. That's at $325,000. What I think Ryan, to his frustration and to Joanne's frustration, we continually pushed out during the conference calls and during private meetings that you need to be tracking this, you need to get this stuff to us. That probably didn't happen at the same level we were hoping for, as we're seeing things that maybe are in CARES now that we can move into the PG public grant process. We're going to keep reaching out continually. At least that's our plan, and keep reminding people. And if they don't do it, there's not much we can do to force them. But sometimes just an extra phone call, like to the clerk, where are you at with the items you provided as cost estimates for, or at least budgetary numbers, is probably in the clerk's case more apropos. And then the health department turned it around right away. They gave us that last night. We did have a conversation with another board late last night, Ryan and I did, and they're in the process of trying to do it. We're trying to make it all the same. So when it all ends up on Joanne's desk, sorry, Joanne, when it all ends up on your desk, it should come in the same manner. So when an audit occurs, we're pulling out documents that at least look similar. Example, we try to use the same spreadsheet for tracking time for disinfecting and those kind of things. We'll keep banging away at it is all we can do. Is everybody's got a day job and probably doesn't have to deal with CARES on a regular basis. We have not forgotten it.
If there's anything we can do to help with that, I mean, you know, if we maximize the use of these funds, perhaps that saves pain for all the elected officials, our departments included, down the road. And I think sometimes, you know, when it's staff to staff, that's not as clear, but it's certainly conversations that we can have with our fellow elected officials to just say, hey, we're doing our best to get as much under these, you know, sources as we can, so that we don't have staffing reductions down the road because of revenue shortfalls. You know, we're all in this together.
And anytime you would communicate with an elected official, maybe just putting that on the back burner as a tickler, we're still waiting for information, and we'll keep posting to the commissioners a status report. At least you can see it in the same format at a high elevation, so that you know where the numbers go from 3 zeros at the end to, you know, $822. You know that that's now more of a locked-in number, and we'll start publishing that.
And I would say, I would add that several, you know, the elected officials that have already spent money have turned through receipts and their lists of what they've purchased. We got them back right away after we talked with them, you know, kind of the first time. And so I think the message is getting through. They've been real responsive.
Great. So what's the next step, Jean?
Keep working the back channels continually, keep updating the information. Really, it's an accounting problem now. When we hit our number, we want to continue the effort so that we know what the surplus is that would be eligible potentially. And then once the turn back money starts to come in, capture as much of that as possible. Where we end up, we'll not know. And like I said, until we're at the end of the journey.
Yeah, we have a for sure number on those UV disinfection units now, because I took bids yesterday. So it's going to be a little bit less than what we have listed in our sheet, but we put that there as a placeholder. So we're ready to get going on that one.
So can I ask Joanne, will we start seeing non-general fund resolutions to spend down funds, or how will this operationalize?
Well, when we talked with the auditor originally, and Todd, chime in if I misspeak, the idea was for anyone who's already taken money from their budget to buy equipment, PPE, whatever, we can do expense corrections and take that out of the EMPA or the CARES money. Now, because I had to bid out those disinfection units, you will get a resolution to approve that because that was an actual bid.
Mhm.
But they've put the funds, the appropriations in, that Todd had requested be put in the lines. Those are in the fund currently, and we will be, I'm processing purchase orders against that all the time. The only time I think that you're going to see resolutions is going to be when there's going to need to be additional appropriations done, or if one of the items that's on the list is software for the building department that is listed right now at like $150,000. If we do that, it'll have to be a bid and it'll have to have its resolutions for that. But you won't have many of resolutions going forward to approve every single thing.
Any big ticket item over 50,000 still is held to the requirement of bid except for PPE. And I don't think there's any objection from anybody about us buying personal protective equipment. But Joanne's 100% right. Anything that's going to be a big ticket item is going to have to come back to the board.
So are we, in some ways, this outline that we have is in operation already? So like if, Joanne for internal services, $10,000, like you can start spending against that.
The only thing that I think that was a placeholder. The only thing that we've expended was the 3 laptops that we purchased early on. I will, under the maintenance department, we'll have the figure on the disinfectant, the PPE that we bought earlier in the year that we have in stock. And then I will move forward to replenish our stock as well as we go forward. The one thing, so a lot of it was placeholders for now. And those real figures, that's what I think Jean was saying, we're continually working on knocking those down and getting more specific.
Well, my only concern would be, so say, Sabrina points out the clerk, the 255. If she comes in with that, are we in some ways approving these amounts today because, we're $1 million over, and okay.
The next step, now we wanted to know specifically if you guys wanted some of this money set aside for the hazard pay and these particular grants out to the community. Now that we know we don't need to have money for that, I think our next goal is to winnow this $3 million down to the actual 1.8. Some of those items are being ordered, the PPE and all that type of thing. Some of it actually is on hold, and departments understand that just because they've requested it doesn't mean they're going to get funded for it. So our next goal is to come up with the actual $1.8 million list that we have to have encumbered by October 6th. In all the debate on extending the December deadline, nobody has mentioned the October deadline being extended. So we're still trying to get this all encumbered by October 6th. But what we need to do is come up with the actual 1.8 now, and then begin making those purchases.
Yeah, virtually the only purchases that we've made so far have been some of the PPE for Ryan, and then laptops for the departments. Lloyd's been getting the quotes for the departments, and we've been fulfilling that because the majority of them are thinking, we're thinking like, yes, if things get worse and we have to send people home, we don't have the equipment we need. Those are the only things that far. The payment window upgrade for the clerk, that's already encumbered. That's the construction contract. It hasn't just, the issue is that it hasn't just started yet. But that's the construction project that was bid out, a year and a half ago.
And budgeted for.
it was already budgeted for, yes, ma'am, in the general fund, and that's already fully encumbered. And she was just saying, is that something that we could recoup? That's a placeholder, and that's, in my mind, that would be something that we would get rid of if we had to. But that was the thought there.
So this will come back before us with the thoughts on, okay, now here's the 1.8 for us to approve moving forward, knowing that some of this is already expended, but the bulk of it is not, and we're making decisions about how we'll allocate.
Equally, every time we come back, the prime example is the window or the software for the building department. These pieces come back and they're going to come to you for approval and an update on what's left. Probably be the best way to deal with it. So, but weekly, we'll keep that 30,000 foot document coming your way. So if you have any questions about where we think it's heading, but equally, I want to be absolutely clear, the safety items, the disinfectant, the UV units, we're proceeding with that as the number one item that we're trying to protect our employees.
Joanne, how many UV units are we looking at?
2 single and 6 double.
Okay.
And that was, our group decided on those numbers based upon some direct conversations with some judges and the sheriff, and myself for our buildings, on what we think we'll use. We cut the number down.
Yeah, because I thought it was 10. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we got good prices yesterday, so I feel pretty confident that that's going to be a working thing for us. The sheriff already received his 1 unit, and they're very happy with it thus far.
Okay.
Thank you all so very much for all the work that you're doing on this. Keep up the good work, and we look forward to the continued conversation about this, and hopefully a second infusion of funding from the feds. Stay tuned.
Yeah, that would be great.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jean, do you have any other items?
That's all. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Thank you,
Do we have
Jean.
a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I was second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky?
Yes.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
You too.